and yeah, it's still in the air here.
You know, Tasha, New York City is so alive, busy, and bustling. Does it feel like you're actually in Manhattan?
Absolutely not, Ellie. It feels like, it really does feel like a movie set. There are people on the streets. I'm looking at a couple of people right now. I think that they're getting ready to go to work. They're standing around, but there's a lot of people just standing around, not saying anything. It's extremely eerie, and I apologize for using the same words over and over again. It's just so appropriate right now. There's no traffic on the streets whatsoever, aside from rescue crews and a couple of police cars and demolition crews going in and out trying to get all that debris out of there. But you can walk down the middle of the street, rollerblade down the middle of the street. We saw people playing football in the middle of the street. So it does not feel like this is New York City at all.
All right, thank you so much, Tasha.
Tasha Jamerson about 10 blocks away in Midtown this morning. She alluded to Scott Haney. We will be going live to him in just a minute. Right now, though, Metro North service to New York is expected to return to a normal schedule today. Rail traffic was crowded yesterday as thousands of professionals in New York returned home here to Connecticut.
Channel 3's Lee for Lacey is at Union Station in New Haven this morning. Lee, what's it like this morning?
Good morning, Ellie and David. Actually, right now, it's relatively quiet. There are very few people getting on the trains going all the way into Manhattan. The few that are here and are getting on the trains, they're just going to stops along the New Haven line to get to work, but not going all the way to Manhattan. There are a lot of people who want to help out. You see these horrific pictures and you get a sense of helplessness and you want to be able to do things, and there are people out there giving blood. We just spoke to another group who was here at the train station this morning, a group of firefighters. There were 6 of them from Willington Hills who had their gear with them, their big bags, and they were heading straight into the city. They were some of the few that were going into the city because they wanted to get to ground zero and help out. And though one of the women told me that her family was very worried about her going there, she said she wanted to be there no matter what.
Just thinking about the families. And our families, most of them don't want us to go down, but they understand.
A lot of people are understanding, and they are such heroes for going down there and putting themselves maybe in the line of fire. There's a lot of dangerous work to be done down there. I was speaking to one of my colleagues, news colleagues here, someone from NPR who caught one of the engineers just as they were getting off the 627 train. And the engineer said that normally the 627 train going from New Haven to New York has 1,000 people on it. And he said that this morning it had only about 100. So that tells you, who's coming to this train station and who's staying home. Ellie and David, back to you.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Lee. Lee for Lacey in New Haven this morning.
Thank you, Lee. It is true, not a single person has been unaffected by everything that happened yesterday. Last night, President Bush spoke to all of us in a live address at about 8:30. He promises swift retribution against the people responsible for yesterday's attacks. Addressing the nation from the Oval Office, Mr. Bush called on Americans to persevere.
These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shattered steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
President Bush, a live address from the Oval Office last night at about 8:30. President also says anyone who helped or harbored the terrorists responsible for the attacks will also be punished.
Now, this is not the first time the World Trade Center has been a target of terrorism.
Our own Scott Haney was, believe it or not, working at the top of one of the towers when it was bombed by terrorists back in 1993. Scott is live in Manhattan this morning, and Scott, in a remarkable twist of fate, you were also not too far away yesterday.
I was Midtown, David and Ellie, and it was quite an experience to look up and see plumes of smoke and not know what it was. It was an incredible sight. I want to bring you over here and show you just actually some of the trucks we have got going down the street. These are truckloads of emptiness. They are going in for debris, and you can see the street just completely lined up with just sanitation truck after sanitation truck. Once these trucks get there, then they've got to start the very painful process of going through the debris. Now, we have been telling you all along, as you know, the World Trade Towers comprise about 110 stories each. That's 110 floors, but after speaking to some of the workers who have been in there, and you can see more emergency vehicles getting ready to enter the way. These are the only vehicles that you're going to see passing by in this area of the city. We are on West Houston and 6th Street. But they tell us that there are actually 128 stories in each of those buildings, even though there are 110 floors, because there is space in between each of those floors. So you've got 128 floors coming to a crashing ground, and you've got 5 stories high of debris. Now, we've also been taking a look at some of the debris fields on home video that we have been privileged to see here, and it's just an incredible scenario. 9 blocks, 10 blocks down, you've got debris sprawled out, parts and chunks of buildings covering the cars, and again, just an unreal scenario. David and Ellie, if I were to ask you a question, like if you were able to go into a movie theater and see a type of movie like this, would you believe that this would be like even a scenario for a movie?
Not in 100 years.
Hard to believe, Scott.
You know, Scott, Tom Clancy, the famous science fiction author.
Again, just an incredible scenario. The trucks continue to roll on through. If you don't have to come to Manhattan today, I want to just tell you to stay home if you can, because there's just not a lot going on here today. Take another day off, keep your kids, talk to your kids, open up the conversation. Don't be afraid to discuss this with them. And we're going to go back to the studio, both of you.
All right, good advice, Scott. Thank you very much. It's obviously loud there with Scott standing. Just to underscore.
I can't hear you guys. Unfortunately, I've lost my interrupted feedback, so I'm just going to toss it back to you, and we'll catch you a little bit later.
All right,
fine,
we'll try
Scott.
to reestablish that connection with Scott a little bit later. And
Scott Haney in Midtown Manhattan this morning. Tom Clancy, the famous author who's written a number of books on this type of thing that happened yesterday, he was interviewed early this morning. He was asked what he would do in the future as far as plots to his books. He said he would never have written in a book what happened yesterday because he felt like his readers would not have believed something like that.
You know, I was listening to some terrorism experts comment on what happened yesterday, and they have gone through all types of scenarios, and this is something that they didn't even imagine could happen.
And that really says it all. A shocking day yesterday. Today is the day that we try to begin coping and moving forward, and a not so small element of that, as every day, is what's the weather going to be like today as we move forward. Miles Musio is in the Doppler 3000 Weather Center this morning with the latest. Good morning, Miles.
Good morning, David and Ellie. Yeah, yesterday I saw all of this on television, and the first thing that came to my mind after the 2 planes had hit was it's going to take years to repair the World Trade Center. When they collapsed, I was just absolutely astounded. An amazing day yesterday, a horrible, horrifying day. Today is a new day. We've got the sun coming up right now, blue skies, and believe me, it is the first day after all that in this wonderful nation of ours. Let's check out the current temperatures right now. We've got clear skies, sun is out, and currently it's 59 degrees outside. The winds are calm, the humidity is fairly high, up there 80%. And you can see, well, you saw for a second, their temperature is kind of cool in Salisbury, down to 45 degrees. Here's some more temperatures around the region now. It's 49 in Windham. As we go to the Weather Pro, it'll show 49 degrees in Windham and 50 degrees in Waterbury and Danbury. Bridgeport reports in at 60 this morning. That's fairly warm, and we're going to be fairly mild this afternoon. Look at Springfield, down to 46 degrees. Clear skies from stem to stern all across the northeast right now. And there is high pressure, which continues to build on in. However, we do have another weather system which is approaching from the Great Lakes, and that will be here probably tomorrow late. In the tropics, you can see a big hurricane there. That's Hurricane Erin, which continues to move off and away. It's got 90-mile-per-hour winds, though, but not really affecting anybody. And tropical depression number 8 down there in western Florida is expected to become a tropical storm, probably within the next 36 hours. By the way, we also have Felix out in the middle of the Atlantic, not really hurting anybody. We're going to be seeing much cooler air move in on the back of a cold front tomorrow late. I think most of the day tomorrow will be dry, and then the front will go by, and we're going to probably see clouds Friday morning, a little bit of occasional light rain, but then that too will improve, and I think sunshine will continue right into the weekend after this little episode of showers late Thursday and early on Friday. Today and tomorrow we're up into the 70s, but it does cool down, as you can see, on Friday. And Saturday and Sunday we're going to only be in the 60s those days, and quite cool on Saturday morning, down to 41 degrees, but many spots could see mid to upper 30s in the normally cool valleys of northern Connecticut and the Berkshires. So a cool morning on Saturday, but today and tomorrow, plenty of sunshine and temperatures really quite pleasant. Dave and Ellie, back to you.
Thanks so much, Miles.
Thanks, Miles. 6:54 right now, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock. Coming up, by the way, at 7 or thereabouts, we are expecting to hear from the governor, Governor John Rowland, live. One of the stories from yesterday that was eclipsed is Election Day, primary election day here in Connecticut. It did go on as scheduled.
In Hartford's mayoral primary, community activist Eddie Perez won a convincing victory, defeating challenger Robert Ludgen by more than a 2-to-1 margin. But Ludgen will still be on the November ballot anyway as a petitioning candidate, and so will the Reverend Nora Wyatt. They'll face Republican Robert Yakamachi. Mayor Mike Peters decided not to run for re-election.
Another big race yesterday down in New Haven, the Democratic primary for mayor. Mayor John DeStefano, the big winner there. DeStefano easily defeated State Senator Martin Looney. DeStefano goes on to face Republican Joel Schiavone in November.
And in Waterbury, they're still counting votes there. Just a few votes separate Michael Jarjura and Lawrence DePillo in the Democratic primary. Ronald Napoli finished third. We're told that election officials will not declare a winner until sometime this morning at the earliest, and there could be a recount.
The Red Cross in Connecticut obviously doing a lot to help us today throughout the state of Connecticut and New York. No one will forget where they were or what they were doing yesterday, September 11th, 2001. Many watching television as those twin towers collapsed.
President Bush says even though these attacks were designed to frighten our country into chaos, they have failed. In New York, crews are still searching this morning through what was once the World Trade Center. Victims are still trapped in the debris. It's still far too early to put a death toll on what's being called a cowardly attack. Of course, all our prayers go out to the families and to the victims this morning.
It's frustrating being limited on information as we are, but we will be here to provide as much information for you as we can throughout the day today as information comes in, and it certainly will. The Red Cross in Connecticut very busy helping hundreds of people turning out to donate blood.
But the organization has also been supplying emotional support. Beth Hersman from the Red Cross is in our newsroom this morning. Thank you so much for being here, Beth.
Good morning.
Beth, tell me about the Red Cross's efforts here in the state of Connecticut to help out our neighbors in New York.
Right now, we've sent 9 volunteers down, both to Lower Connecticut and New York. Those are both mass care volunteers, people who are taking care of things such as food and providing shelter not only to the victims, but the emergency responders. We also have 2 emergency response vehicles that we've sent down to the affected areas. We're extending our blood drives, calling all people of Connecticut have turned out really en masse to give blood. If people are interested in giving blood, we're urging them to call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE. If we've also had people ask if they can give monetary donations to disasters like this. If they want to do that, we're telling them they can call 1-800-HELP-NOW. Both of those numbers are having a large influx of calls, but we can't believe the outpour of support that we are getting from Connecticut, and it really makes me proud.
Beth, some people are wondering, they're saying, I want to give blood today, but if there are going to be long lines, when should I go? Should I go before work, after work, lunchtime? Are you suggesting a time, or come when you can?
The best thing to do is call 1-800-HELP-NOW or visit the website www.bloodct.org. There is an email system there. You can email for an appointment. You can also call the 1-800-GIVE-LIFE number. It's, again, that number's been having a huge influx of calls. They will tell you the closest blood drives to you, the times they're open. They'll give you an appointment. And not only are we asking people to give blood now, but in the coming weeks, that's when we need blood donors to come out in droves also.
Beth, you're mentioning blood donations as well as monetary donations. Do you need physical bodies to actually go to New York and help the people out with the recovery?
You know, the Red Cross has a huge pool of volunteers that are trained for things just like this. So we have volunteers. We have over 200 just alone in the state of Connecticut who are trained and ready to respond to a national incident such as this. We already have 9 that have been sent down there. But we are telling people that do want to donate their time to contact their local American Red Cross. We'll take down their contact information. If we need them, we'll definitely call upon them. And I know in the future we'll probably call upon them to ask to get Red Cross training and definitely help us prepare for future